How to play the D7 chord. D7 is an abbreviation. The complete name for the D7 chord is D dominant 7th. However, if you come across it in guitar tablature, guitar music, or chord charts, it's usually referred to as simply D7. Here's how to play it. Firstly, place the first finger in the first fret of the B string. Then, place the second finger in the second fret of the G string. Finally, press the third finger in the second fret of the top E string. Now strum. When looking at the chord map for this chord, you'll notice that the two bottom strings have both got X's on. These mean you don't play either of the bottom two strings, so you only play the top four strings. Let's see how the D7th is played with a guitar. Firstly, press the first finger in the first fret of the B string. Then press the second finger in the second fret of the G string. Finally, press the third finger in the second fret of the top E string. And now strum. If your D7 chord doesn't sound right, let's see if we can find out what's wrong. The first thing we need to do is check the tuning. So, take all your fingers off the strings and play each string one by one. If your guitar sounds out of tune, pause the video here and tune your guitar up. However, if you're not sure, pause the video anyway and check the strings with a tuner. Now let's put our fingers back on the strings. Place the first finger in the first fret of the B string. Then place the second finger in the second fret of the G string. And finally press the third finger in the second fret of the top E string. And now strum. If your D7 chord still isn't sounding correct, you need to look carefully at where the fingers are. Check they're between the frets and not on the frets or straddling over the frets into the wrong ones. Also, make sure they're firmly placed on the strings and not in between the strings or just catching the strings on the edge of your finger. Try playing each note of the chord one by one. This way you can hear which strings aren't ringing correctly and which strings sound wrong. If your chord is sounding muted and the strings are just dead, first thing to do is to try pressing a little harder. Also, bring your fingers onto the tips so they're not overlapping and muting the strings next to them. If you don't find this improves the chord much, try playing with the position of the thumb. Move it down around the back of the neck towards the floor. This automatically brings your fingers onto their tips and prevents your fingers from overlapping onto the strings next to them. Sometimes it's a good idea just to take all the fingers off and then refinger the chord. Don't worry if you don't get the chord straight away, you will get it. You just have to keep coming back to the guitar and practicing again.